Ahoy hoy, Carlo here, and ta-da! Self-explanatory. Lego Simpsons minifigures. Just came out today, May 1st. I actually was able to get 14 of 16 of them last week. Certain Walmarts had them out on the shelf before official release date. So I was able to pick up 14, and today I picked up the last two, Lisa and Nelson, in the Lego store. I stood there for half an hour filling up the bags to get those two. So that's why I'm making this video, is to show you how to feel for each of the characters. So first off, just grab any bag, any figure, doesn't matter. Blindly grab one, open it up, okay, and grab the picture guide. As long as you have the picture guide, it'll help you out very easily, or you'll be able to feel for them very easily. So there they are. There are all the characters. And I'll go one by one according to the picture guide there. So let's get started. First up is Homer. So Homer, the key to finding him is through his accessory. Actually, the key to finding a lot of these guys, most of them, is through their accessories. So here you can see Homer and his accessory, which is the remote control and the donut. Okay, he's the only one with these two small pieces. So all you got to do is try to find a 2x1 flat surface piece. Once you find that, you're guaranteed to get Homer. And if you want to have insurance, to be sure, find his donut, which is a flat single stud. He's the only one with these two small pieces, so that's how you find Homer. You could of course look for his head, which is, you know, round and oval, but feel for his remote and feel for the donut stud. Single flat stud, 2x1 flat piece. Here's Bart, easiest one to find, his skateboard. Okay, he's obviously bigger, or the skateboard's as big as he is. So all you gotta do is feel for the long flat surface and the two studs on it. And it helps because the wheels are not attached to the skateboard inside the bag. They are separate and loose. So look for the axles and the wheels. So there you go, Bart. When I was in the Lego store feeling for Lisa and Nelson, I felt a lot of Bart Simpson figures, so you can't miss him. Marge, again, self-explanatory. She's another very easy one to find. Do I really need to say why? Her head. Her hair. You know, it's about an inch long, inch big, bumpy. Okay? What's there to say? Just look for her head. You can also look for her purse. But the key to Marge is obviously her head and her hair. Lisa was a little difficult to find because her head is similar to where is it, Maggie? You know, the spiky hair and all that. So look for Lisa's saxophone. Now her saxophone is a kind of a small piece and can get covered up by the display plate. So feel inside the bag and just feel for this unique shape of her saxophone. Her saxmaphone. And it feels like it's gonna break, but it's pretty solid. So just look for the, you know, her mouthpiece there and just the unique shape of her saxophone. That's how you find Lisa. Maggie. Now Maggie, you could look for her Bobo, the teddy bear, her spiky hair. But the way I found Maggie is through her body, her torso. See, right away you can see what the way to find it. Her onesie's tail. When you're feeling inside the bag, I was like, this feels very weird. It doesn't feel like a regular Lego torso, minifigure torso. So when I looked at the picture, you can't see the rear. There are no pictures of Maggie from behind, but there it is right there. Just look for that tail on her onesie. Nice solid piece with a weird shaped base. it also helps that her hands and arms cannot go past to the rear. So that's how you find Maggie. Her onesie's tail. And or Bobo the teddy bear. Grandpa Simpson, Abe, was a little more difficult to find. His accessory, you know, you can see everyone, there are a lot more, or similar ones. But obviously Marge, you look for her head. But with Abe, find his accessory, you're like, okay, it's one of four. But the way I found Abe was to isolate his head. You know, his head is very similar in shape to Ned Flanders and Apu. But the way I found him was to find his hair. Okay, basically look for a crown on top of the minifigure head. So in the bag, you know, isolate his head and then just feel for the top. Spiky, very very small and round. The best way to, you know, it's a crown. Look for the crown on Abe Simpson's head. Ned Flanders is easy. He's the only one with the giant toolbox. So all you gotta do is look for a long rectangular piece. It's a 1x4. Can't miss it. You could also look for his mug. But the best way is to find his toolbox. Krusty's easy too. Now you could look for his pie, you know, the large round thing with serrated edges or bumpy edges as the pie crust. But the way I found Krusty was through his head. Isolate the head, and the reason why you can find the head is his hair. Solid and points out to the sides. That's how you find Krusty. Oh. And his head went flying. Oh, there it is. So Krusty the Clown, look for his head and hair. Milhouse is one of the harder ones to find. Okay, he's got the stupid 2x2 flat piece there, similar to Ralph. You know, it took me a while to feel my way to figure out which one's Milhouse, but the way I did it was to grab his head, isolate the head, and just rotate it, slide it, feel for it. He's got the bumpy hair with that little curl there. He's got the eyeglasses that's kind of bumpy, and his nose is giant and round. So just, you know, go in the bag, grab his head, and just feel for his head, and be sure of his nose and his hair. That's how I finally figured out which one was Milhouse. It took me about 15 minutes just to feel for this guy. Like I said, similar in size as Ralph, and with a similar accessory. But you'll notice a difference. Ralph's head. Okay? And that's the big difference between Milhouse and Ralph. Ralph just has basically a round head. Okay? It's kind of hard to feel for his face. The bumpy face. Like his eyeballs and his ears and all that. So all you gotta do is look for his smooth round crown. Or scalp or whatever. Within the bag, it'll be flying all over the place. So when you think you have Ralph, just isolate the head on its own, keep the rest of the pieces away, and just if it's just flying all over the place, sliding all over the place, then you know it's Ralph. See? Basically, it's a marble. That's what Ralph is. So the comparison between Milhouse's head and Ralph's head. Yeesh. Right? Come on, there you go. Apu, same head, very similar to Grandpa and Ned, but Apu's the only one with that kind of accessory size or accessory design. The squishy cup. cylindrical, cup, round. He's the only one with this piece. You might mix it up with Blinky the fishbowl that Mr. Burns has, but this one's longer, and you might be able to use your fingernail to feel the ridges of the lid. That is how you find Apu. Squishy cup. Thank you. Come again. Nelson took a bit of time again, but obviously the way to find him is through his accessory, the baseball bat. Long, you know, little thick, but the key is to find the ridges. Okay, so when you isolate his bat, just to be sure it is his bat, just run your fingernail, and then you'll feel the ridges of the handle, and then the big nub at the end. You could try to find his feel for his head, but the baseball bat's the way to go for Nelson. Scratchy's easy. Or sorry, not Scratchy, Itchy. Itchy's easy. Look for the spiky club. He's the only one with it. But the better way, the way I found it, was just through his head. Itchy, like Scratchy, has a very rubbery head. A matte finish rubbery head, and it does not slide around inside the bag. It just stays in place. So once you find a piece that just will not move inside within the bag, feel for his Mickey Mouse ears, and you'll know for sure that's Itchy. So rubbery head, Mickey Mouse ears, immovable, spiky club. Scratchy's the same way. His head is a little rubbery. It doesn't move as easily as, say, you know, Ralph's head that slides around. With Scratchy, look for his two ears. They're like horns. They're kind of solid, but you will be able to feel his horns or his ears because they're spiky, and they're basically two protruding pieces coming out of his head. You could try to find his tail, which is a separate piece from the rest of his body, or his axe, his accessory axe. But the best way is to feel for his rubbery, pointy head. Chief Wiggum is easy. Just find his microphone. He's the only one with this kind of piece. It's big. It's a weird shape. Once you find it in the bag, the shape will come out in the bag. You'll actually see the outline of the microphone in the bag once you're able to isolate it. You can also try to feel for his cap, his police cap, I guess octagonal shape. But with Chief Wiggum, look for the microphone. And lastly, you got Mr. Burns. You could try to find his face. You know, it's very long, and he does have kind of have a rubbery feel. But again, with the rest of them, most of them, you look for the accessories. So Blinky fishbowl, which is exactly the same shape as a regular Lego minifig head. You could feel for that. The way I found Burns for sure was through this, the Inanimate carbon rod. Just a single long piece, a stick basically. You can't mix it up with Nelson's bat because it's a lot thinner. So that's how I found Mr. Burns. Inanimate carbon rod. So there you have it. My field guide on how to get each of the Simpsons characters. Can't wait to see what Series 2 is going to come out with. Thanks a lot.